typing now, since we are officially in class. All right, so welcome back to MEE120 for lesson 2. Let's go over to the website and see what we're going to do today. Today is going to be all about setting up the computer and doing our first sketching. I want to get you guys drawing right away because the only way to learn this stuff is just plain practice. So I'll share my screen.
I had also noticed that I downloaded Solidworks over the summer, and the link over the summer was the 2019-2020 link, and now it just updated like a few days ago, and so now it's 2021 on
Yes.
the main portal.
Yep. Definitely get the 2021. That's what I'm writing your exam in. So if you, if I write it in 2021 and you guys have something older, you won't be able to open the exam, and that will be really, really bad. Okay, so I'm at the website. I'm clicking Lecture 2. And I guess probably the best way to do this is just kick off Solidworks. I don't know what that's all about, but okay, whatever. I'll solve that after class.
Scratch out a SolidWorks last time you loaded it because that might be it.
Okay, so when you first fire up SolidWorks, you should get something like this. You won't have any recent documents. So I'm going to select making a new part. It gives you this error message that says the default templates are not valid. So we need to resolve that. By the end of class, we'll have that nailed down.
Should we be following along and doing everything you're doing in SolidWorks?
Totally up to you. If you want to just kick back and watch and then replay the video afterward and do all of this, you know, you could certainly do it that way. I found as a student that if I was so busy writing, I never got what the professor said. So whatever works for you. Once we get to sketching, that might be better to try and click along with me. Okay.
Are we using inch pound?
Say again?
Are we using inch pound and second for the units?
That's going to be your primary set of units. Okay, I do want you to make a template that is metric, but for most of what I give you, it's going to be inch pound seconds.
Is it cool if we are like a metric person to just keep it in metrics because it's easier, or do we have to do inch pound second?
No, you have to, because if the graders come in and they grade it and they look at it and go, well, that's not right. You know, it should really be what I give you on the print. Okay.
And are we using ISO standard?
No, we're going to use modified ANSI.
Okay.
American National Standards.
There we go.
Okay, so when you first fire up SolidWorks, you get this really kind of blank, nondescript screen. And, you know, it's not set up very well. It's just yucky. Okay, so we're going to fix that. So right now we've got nothing to draw on. All we see is the origin in the center of the screen. So the first thing I like to do is I'm going to turn on some of my principal planes. I'm going to right click on it and I'll say show. Okay, now I have my planes turned on. And I should
Where
probably,
did you right click?
okay, so just put your mouse over front plane, right click, and then I went up to the eyeball. So if I hit it again, it toggles on and off. Okay. So that turns on my principal planes. If you push down your mouse wheel, you can rotate the screen like this. Put it at any angle you want. If you roll the mouse wheel, that controls your zoom. And you're going to zoom about whatever point your mouse pointer is pointing to. So for example, right now I'm pointing at the origin. So if I roll the mouse wheel, I roll in on the origin. If I come
And
out
so
here,
you click the mouse wheel to do the first command where you got the different views?
I'm sorry, say again.
To rotate the plane, you did that by clicking the mouse wheel?
No, press down on the mouse wheel.
Okay.
So I'm holding down the mouse wheel and I'm moving it around the table, and that rotates my view. Okay, next thing we need to do, and this is kind of a matter of taste. Once you guys have 25 years like I do, if you want to change it, go ahead. But for the sake of this class, I'm going to ask you to install some axes. The way we do that is we come up here to Reference Geometry, choose the axis icon. We're going to choose 2 planes. And as you know from geometry class, the intersection of any 2 planes is a line. And that's exactly what an axis is. It's an infinitely long, perfectly straight theoretical line.
Is there a reason you clicked those 2 planes and not the other one?
We're going to do all of the sets. So there is an axis there.
Wait, which you clicked on reference geometry to get the axes, right?
Correct. So let's put in the other one. Right now we have
Just
one
a
axis.
second. I don't see reference geometry on my end of Solidworks.
Okay.
Click features.
Yep.
Features? Okay.
Click the Features tab right up here. You can also get it through the Command Manager. The Command Manager is this set of icons up here. So if you click on Insert, Features, whoops. I never get it down through this way. Oh, Reference Geometry, and you can get it through Axis that way. If
And you said
choose.
access from the origin.
Say again?
You said access from the x-axis. You said.
You're going to put an axis that's the intersection of 2 planes.
Okay.
So let me do another one. I'll click on the Features tab to make sure I'm in the right set of commands. I'll hit the drop down under Reference Geometry, and I'll choose Axis. Now I'm going to choose the front plane and the right plane. And you can see in yellow, it's suggesting to put in a vertical axis. To which I say, cool, I like that. I'll hit the green check to say okay and accept it.
Mhm.
So now I have an axis that runs down this way. I have an axis that runs vertically. And next, I'm going to put an axis that runs kind of into and out of the screen. So I'm going to do the exact same again. Axis. And I'll choose the 2 intersecting planes, in this case, the top and the right. And I get my intersection axis. And we're doing this so that if we create a revolved part, something like that, we have an axis to revolve about. You can think of this as acting like kind of a hinge pin in a lot of cases. I'll say
For
those.
the first two, like it says the text on it, the top plane and the front plane. How do you get the other ones to have the text?
I get the other ones to have the text. Try this. Hit the F key. That fits your screen. Your plane should be labeled. You can also click on them and resize them. That might be part of what's going on in your...
Oh, okay, that's it. They're out of the viewpoint. That's it.
Okay. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. We've made the planes visible. We've added the XYZ axis. Now we need to modify the system a little bit. And we're going to use the options icon up at the top. This is where all your settings for the document and Solidworks itself are set. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure we have 3 decimal places for all dimensions and measurements. The current default is 2. So let's go ahead and we're just going to march right down through this. Display, selection. Actually, it's under document. Here we go. Okay. So let's start off. We're going to change our drafting standard to ANSI. We're going to make all notes uppercase. This is another thing that makes me a little bit crazy. Okay, anytime you have a note on a blueprint, it should always be in uppercase. Okay. Then we'll go annotations. That all looks good. Dimensions.
Where did you go to get this?
Go to the little gear icon at the top, right up here.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You click on that and then click on Document Properties. Okay, so we've gone down through annotation. We set it as ANSI. We've come down to dimensions. We're going to set our primary precision as 3 places and our secondary. Don't need anything in sharps. Okay, detailing. Here's an important one, folks. Make sure that cosmetic threads are turned on. That's an important one. Make sure shaded cosmetic threads is turned on. And make sure that welds are turned on. So when we get to welding metal parts together, you'll actually be able to see a little weld bead if this is checked on. Okay, so those are important. And don't worry if you miss any of this. This is all listed out and shown in the PowerPoint for lesson 2. Okay. Grid snap, we never use that. Units, here's an important one. So make sure that inch pound seconds is checked. That will be the standard for the class, unless I tell you otherwise. Angle 2 places, length 3 places, that's good. Mass and analysis, let's change that to 3 places. Okay, that looks good. Model display, fine. Average default material density is good. Image quality is good. Weldment's good. configurations. The really important one is right here under dimensions. Okay. So these document properties are all specific to the part that we just opened. Let's see what else I have on my list. Okay, so we've got cosmetic threads, inch pound seconds. Next, I want to go over to the Systems Options tab.
So we'll need to do these settings every time we go to make a new part, or is there a way to set it so it's like a default?
We're going to set it as a default, and it's using something called templates. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to save this part as a template so that we can go back and pull up those same settings every time we open SolidWorks. And you could create a template for metric parts. We're going to create templates for drawings. We'll create templates for assemblies, just so that it opens up with everything properly set.
Quick question. What was it that we needed to change in dimensions again?
Under dimensions, you want to make sure you got 3 decimal places on primary, 3 decimal places on dual.
3 decimal
Whenever
places on dual.
Yeah, just hit the little drop down and you'll see how that works.
Yeah, and then just same as nominal.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Mine keeps reverting back to 2 decimals on the dual precision.
Not sure why.
Mine is doing that as well.
Do we
All
need?
right.
Mine did that as well, but I just did it a couple times and now it's staying.
Maybe you need to click like apply and then okay.
No, I just click off of it and it stays.
All right, let me take that down as a class note.
And do we need to change the decimal rounding at all?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. The next thing we need to do is we're going to come over, let's see, we got document, system options. Okay, what we need to do at this point is we need to create some folders to store all of our stuff. So let's come down here to open up a Windows Explorer. And let's go under Documents. And what I'd like you to do,
What is Window Explorer?
File Explorer.
Oh, okay.
yep, right down here. We're going to click on New and Folder. And I want you to create a folder that is SolidWorks SW_ templates 2020.
So can this be like on a desktop or anywhere, or does it have to be in like a SolidWorks folder or somewhere specific, or just in the Windows like file thing?
It's going to be just in the Windows file system. We're going to put it under Documents. I found in past years that students would tend to move stuff around their desktop, but if we put it under Documents, it more or less stays in one place. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tell SolidWorks where these folders are. And we're going to put our templates in, we're going to put all of our setup files, all that good stuff in it. Okay, so I've created SW templates 2020. The next thing we're going to do, let's create another folder. SolidWorks Backup 2020. So I already have one, that's fine. So I already have my backup right here. It seems like every single year that I teach this course, somebody gets right in the middle of the exam and their computer crashes. And in previous years, I didn't have them turn on autosave. With you guys, I'm going to have you turn on autosave right from square one, so that if something dies in the middle of the exam, I'm going to know exactly what folder to tell you to go to, and you'll be able to recover all your stuff in the exam. So that's what we're doing right now. And the last thing I'd like you to do is let's create a folder where you're going to put all of your homework, all of your lessons, all that stuff. So again, new folder, SolidWorks lessons. And I would strongly suggest that inside SolidWorks lessons, that you create a folder, something like lesson 1, and then do lesson 2, and just keep going right down through it. Every time we do a new lesson, come under SolidWorks lessons, put your homework in an individual folder. That way, if you think it's submitted and it actually wasn't, then you can go right back to it, give it to the graders, and make sure you get credit for it. So just a matter of good, clean housekeeping. Okay, so we've got all of our folders made. For you guys that are typing along with me, are you all set? You got all those?
What did you want us to do for that autosave?
Okay, so I wanted you to create SW_backup 2020,
Okay.
and that's all you got to do for that. And then we're going to tell SolidWorks where that folder is. And we're going to say every 5 minutes, save every part that is changed. And it will
All right.
create an offline copy in this backup folder.
All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this. And I'm back at SolidWorks.
So inside of those folders are empty right now, right?
Yes, they are empty. So under System Options, let me just back up. So if I come up and I hit the Options little gear icon, just in case you're not at the same place I am, hit the gear icon, then come down under System, Backup and Recover. We're going to set this Auto Recover box up here. So I'm going to say every 5 minutes, Auto Recover, and let's point this at our backup folder. So Documents, come down to SolidWorks Backup 2020. Okay, so now if your computer dies, runs out of battery, whatever, in an exam, all of your stuff up until the last 5 minutes will be in that folder.
I have an extra checkbox under mine that you don't have for some reason. Under the
have it
auto
too.
recover folder, there's save auto recover info after meshing and after running a simulation study.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw that this morning.
Yeah, that's why, because you had your simulation canceled off when you started the application, remember?
Ah, yes. Don't even worry about it. We're not going to do any simulation stuff in this class.
Okay.
So that's just not important at this point.
All right.
Okay. So now let's come down to File Locations. We'll click on that, and you see Document Templates. Oh, I forgot. There's one more thing that we have to do. I'm going down my list. We need to assign part attributes. So I'm just going to say OK. Get rid of that. We're going to assign part attributes to this template that we're creating. And we're going to create attributes for things like the part number, the revision, the description, the vendor, and the vendor part number. And what that's going to do is eventually, that's going to fill out the title block in the drawings. That's going to fill out our bill of materials when we do assemblies. It's going to do a lot of good stuff for us as we move further on in SolidWorks. What I'd like you to do is click on File, go down to Properties. Be sure to hit the Custom tab. Don't worry, guys, we're only going to have to go through this pane one time, and then it will all be saved. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do in all capitals, part underscore number. Number, I can spell properly. The type is text. I'm going to make it 0001. Then I'm going to do revision. The type is text. I'm going to put a dash. That's what you typically put on an initial release. Description. This will eventually become our drawing title.
Wait, so how'd you get that to be pulled up again?
Which one? So I just clicked in the box and I typed description.
No, how'd you get to the summary information? So before that, you said hit File, I think, right?
Let me just hit
List
OK. And
file
just,
properties, custom tabs, part,
Yeah.
and then you put part number 001.
File, Properties, Custom.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay, so then we're going to put vendor. You know, sometimes we buy parts out in the big world. You know, maybe we got to buy a fan or an electronic enclosure or something like that. And then we're going to put vendor part number as the last one. Oops. Spelled properly. Okay, so once you have those 5 entries, you're good. That's all we need. And then we're going to just say OK. Okay, so now my part is set up just the way I want it. I would love to have SolidWorks open up and be just like this every time it starts up and I do a new part.
Question, what was the vendor part number value?
Oh, you can just make up anything. ABC 123. Make it something a little bit goofy so that you, if you see it, you know to go back and reset it.
Sorry, I was a bit slow finding the file button. What was the things again? Sorry, I was just
File,
back and forth. Yeah,
properties. Make sure you hit the custom tab, and then it should look like this. And This is
Okay.
case sensitive, and you do need the little underscores right in here. That's simply because of the way I set up the drawing templates. So if you don't have this with the correct capitalization or underscores, when we get to the drafting part of the course, your drawings won't fill out properly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's all good.
So that is that everything is all capital and the spaces are underscores for the formatting?
Correct. Okay, so let's go back to our little gear icon under options. And I want to go to file locations this time. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a pathway to our templates folder so that SolidWorks knows where to get this template for setting up the machine each time. We're going to add the pathway. So we'll go back to Documents. We'll come down to SolidWorks Templates 2020 and hit Select Folder. So you should have 2 lines in there at this point.
For some reason, mine also has an additional one.
Yeah, that's okay. I have an additional one also. It's going to look in both places.
Yeah, it's like mine also has another one that says SolidWorks 2020 templates.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I have 3 lines. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sorry, were the values for the different properties, were they just arbitrary?
Yes, they are. You're
You
going to
just-
want to go in and change those every time you draw a new part. So for example, if I have you draw a bolt, you'll want to change the description to bolt and whatever size it is. Something like that.
Okay. So
You still seem confused, Davis. What's up?
well, I'm wondering why we're setting it as a default if we're going to change it.
Only so that you don't have to type the whole thing in every single time.
It's a template.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called maximizing laziness or productivity in the industrial world.
So it's like an action, and like every time you like click the one thing when you're setting it up, you don't have to go through the 30 steps again, right?
Exactly.
I still haven't figured out the axis thing. I'll have to go back and do that.
Okay. Why don't I handle that question offline?
All right.
It sounds like this definitely simplifies our process and saves time because instead of going through, you just click one setting and it applies it to the parts. And then if you wanted
Absolutely.
something else, like you could change it. So like, for instance, you needed a metric project, you could have a metric template.
Exactly.
And, it seems like it's definitely really helpful.
Okay, so do I want to make the following changes? Yes, go ahead and make them. Yes, 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 Windows. Okay, so I've saved that pathway. Now, here comes the most important part. We're going to say File, Save As, and we're going to go over to our Templates folder. We'll go down to SolidWorks Templates 2020. Make sure you change from SolidWorks Part to SolidWorks Template.
What?
Should I
How do
wait
you
to do
change that?
Okay.
Should I
So-
wait to do that until after I do the axes?
You can always overwrite the template.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. That works for me.
Oh, so it's in the drop down. And then which one are you supposed to click? Part templates? PRT dot?
That one right there, parttemplates.prt. I hesitated for a minute because it used to be the very first one at the top of the list. So it threw me for a second.
I'm sorry, how did you get to that screen that I have right there?
Okay, let me take it from the beginning. So File, Save As. Under Save As Type, hit the drop down, go to Part Templates. And we're going to change to a part template. And make sure you put that template in your templates folder. So we'll put it in our templates 2020 folder. And I always like to give it a good name, so I'm going to call it My Cool Part Template. You'll have to forgive me with the underscores, folks. That's a throwback to my old days working on Unix systems. They wouldn't tolerate spaces, so I get in the habit of always using underscores. I know it
The
drives
file
some.
names, can we just like make it one whole thing and not put the underscores?
You probably could. Okay, so I'm going to save this part template and make sure it says part template right here. That's crucial.
And we can name it whatever.
Yep. I don't think if I were back at Pratt & Whitney, they'd really appreciate me saying my cool part template. But, you know, hey, we're in college, we can do that. And I'm going to hit save.
You said all of this stuff is on the slideshow?
It is.
In case you missed.
Yep. Everything I'm going through is all on the slideshow. So if you just want to sit back and watch, that is totally fine. But I do want to make sure that you have all of the templates set up after this class. Okay, so we're all set up. Everything looks good. And I'm just going to close this part. On the interface, if you come over here and use this little X in the graphics window, that will close the part you're working on. If you come up here and use this X, that will close all of your parts in Solidworks. So I'm just going to use this one and I'm going to close the part that I'm working on. There.
And can you modify your workspace? So like if you were working on two parts, you could put them like side by side, kind of like Photoshop?
Oh God, yes. You can do all kinds of wild, creative interface stuff.
I have a question real quick.
Shoot.
Sometimes there's like a large X next to the X for the part to close out of the part, and
Yep.
like it won't let me do like any settings changes or anything like that unless I change.
That's because you're still in a command function. You're trying to do some operation. So if you use that red X, that just ends the function that you're in.
Oh, okay, I got you. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's see the benefits of all this template stuff we've been doing. So if I come up here and say new to create a new part, now some of you may have a screen where down here it says advanced. A bunch of you see that? Or
Yep.
Okay, click on the advanced button. And then you should have a window just like mine. And what I want you to notice about my window, one of the tabs up here says SW Templates 2020. This is the contents of my templates folder. Here's my cool part template that I just made and a preview of what it's going to look like. I'm going to say OK. And it opens a new part with all of my settings all saved and ready to go. How you guys doing with that out there in cyberspace?
I think I might be having trouble with linking the template folder to SolidWorks. Would you go back through doing that?
Absolutely. Okay, so to link the folder to SolidWorks, we're going to come up here to Options. You want to come down to File Locations. Make sure it says Document Templates in the top. And you're going to add another line. This second line is the pathway to my templates folder. I put it there by hitting Add, and then navigating with this window over to my templates folder. So I could have gone to Documents, and then I would go to SW Templates 2020, and I would hit Select Folder.
That did it. Thank you.
Okay, great.
I have a question real quick.
Shoot.
So I just checked and I went in back in the options, and the dual precision reverted back to 2 decimal places. I don't know why. So is there a way to edit the template?
Let me cancel out of that.
The same problem.
That is just weird. So
Mine also did that.
Yeah, same here.
When he said lecture, did he mean the honors lecture?
let's see.
It was under dimensions for me.
Okay.
Mine did too.
Very weird. Detail, dimensions. There we go. And so did mine.
Yours looks like the primary and ours, or at least mine, was the dual precision one.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
That's what I really want, right there. So then if I say OK, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a part template again. I'm going to try and overwrite my other one.
I agree. I do think that was significant.
So you want? Oh, sorry.
So I'm going to have to go back to my SolidWorks templates folder.
But I would say.
And I'm going to overwrite my cool part template.
I think it was the guy in there. I don't know if he was talking about the difference between the text.
Okay, let's see what that does.
Well, respecting somebody's viewpoint and respecting the person. I think that was something I know in the chat people were talking about.
All right, so I think it may be that you guys changed it, but you didn't save the file. Try that. That just worked for me.
So that's what we want is 0.123 for primary and then just 0.12 for dual.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, typically you want to do a default of 3 decimal places when you're working in inches, and you do 2 decimal places when you're working in millimeters. Okay, how are we doing? Is everybody pretty much up and good with that? Cool. Nice, Ryan.
Yeah, I'll just need to talk to you after class so I can get this access thing figured out.
Okay. Actually, that's an easy one. Let's just try doing that real quick. So the axis thing, click on Features so that you got the Features tab in the Command Manager. You're going to hit the drop-down arrow under Reference Geometry, Axis, and then you choose 2 perpendicular planes.
My issue is that it wouldn't let me pick both. Oh, there we go. Now I can.
Okay.
For some reason before it was selecting the origin as a point for some reason. And it wouldn't let me select the 2
Yeah,
planes.
it may have just been where you were picking.
And then once I select the 2, I can see the green okay?
Correct. Green check and you're good to go.
All right.
I'm going to hit the X just so I don't overwrite what I have.
So I have one between the right and top. I need one between the top and front.
Okay, so that was the big part of the lecture, at least the first big part. Let's go over. Oops. So there's not much to be said about the interface. So this is your command manager up here. This is your part manager over here. This part manager is where you're going to see all of the features and all the steps that go into creating your part. Let's see. There's all the stuff we created. The creation of the templates folder. Axes. Setting the units. Creation of the folders. We got all that. I haven't missed anything yet. One thing you may find, folks, is that I don't care for seeing shadows under my parts. It's kind of the SolidWorks default. If you decide you'd like to turn it off, you just click the sequence view display and then toggle shadows in shaded mode. Okay, we got our attributes. That's good. I didn't miss anything there. We saved it as a template. Okay, so make sure you have this template created by the next class. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open a part. I want you guys to play with just maneuvering the interface. So go ahead and download this part file. So if you're not familiar with that, you just click on it. Hit download. And that put part 001 in my downloads folder. You guys all have the lecture open. Are you good with getting to that pathway?
Yes.
Okay. So then to open that part, I'm just going to say File, Open. And in my case, I'm going to come over to Downloads. I'll click on 001 and hit Open. And you should have this wedge with a bunch of holes in it.
Wait, so where was that again?
You're going to go File, Open. It should be in your Downloads folder, so click on Downloads.
No. I mean, like, where am I downloading this from?
Oh, you're downloading it from the lecture. So I've got the class lecture open.
Is that class 2?
Lecture, lesson 2, yes.
Which one? There's 4 things here.
You want lecture 2 MEE120 at the bottom. Or you can just, here's 001. If you want to just right click on that and do download, you can do it that way as well. This is why I like this format, is I can put the lecture presentation, I can put all the parts, everything nicely packaged in one folder for the lesson. And this is going to really work out nice when we get to assemblies and we've got, you know, maybe 12 parts that we're going to put together into a machine.
All right. So what was the way to safely exit out of the template that we made?
So to get out of your template, number 1, make sure you save any changes. So
And then you just hit close.
You hit the little X right here in the graphics window.
Graphics window.
Yep.
Oh, there it is.
Right here.
There we go. Okay.
And that bounced me right into the other part that I had open. Okay, so to manipulate this thing, I'm pushing down on my mouse wheel and I'm just rolling the mouse around the desktop. So you can just have a good time with that for a minute. If you want to zoom in, put your mouse pointer over an object or an area and just roll the mouse wheel and it will zoom you in or out about the point you're pointing at. So if I want to look at the edge of this wedge, I'll put my mouse pointer on it and roll the mouse wheel. And I can look at the edge. If you get totally turned around and you have no idea where you are, what you can do is hit the F button. F will fit the screen. The other thing you can do is if you hit the space bar, you'll get this nice little orientation cube. And all you do now is you just pick on one of these faces where you want to view from. So if I want to look in this little window, I'll click on it and it orients my model accordingly. Yeah, that's kind of useful.
I'm sorry, how did you open up this file get it from downloads?
So just click File, Open, go to your Downloads folder.
Thanks.
And it should be right there. Okay, and those are the only 2 orientation commands that I ever use. So I roll the mouse wheel, or excuse me, press down on the mouse wheel and roll around. I roll the mouse wheel to zoom, the F key to fit, and the space bar to change orientations. That's it.
It doesn't add any perspective to the model, right? From the view we are looking.
You can do perspective if you want. So are you thinking like view parallax? The phenomena where if you look at railroad tracks, they converge at a distance. That can be turned on. It's under view. I think it's under display and perspective right there. If you like that format, go for it. It doesn't really work for me, but you know, this can be used all kinds of different ways. So if that works for you, go for it. Okay? So I would encourage you to practice this, but you're going to use this so often that I think manipulating the view screen is going to be really, really second nature shortly. Okay, so going back to the presentation. Let's see, open the part, view orientation. Okay, so here's a typical example of where I embed videos in the lectures. So I go through a bunch of stuff and then I actually demonstrate it. If you wanted to, you could click on the play button and that will actually play the video and demonstrate what I just did. This same video is available under the videos tab of the website. Okay. Let's actually draw something. We've had enough of this setting up the machine. All of that's pretty boring. So let's do something a little more fun. I'm going to go back to Solidworks. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to create a new part. I'm going to choose my cool part template so that everything's all set up for me. I'll say OK. And let's do a really, really simple part. Let's just draw a block. The way that you create things in SolidWorks is we're going to create sketches, which are enclosed regions, and then we're going to extrude, which is like toothpaste coming out of a toothpaste tube, or we're going to revolve, which is spinning it around. So we'll take a closed region and spin it into a three-dimensional volume, or we can sweep it. We can start with a closed volume and move it along some crazy pathway. Extruding is by far the simplest, so let's just start with that. I'm going to click on the boundary for the front plane right there, and I'm going to create a new sketch. Here's the sketch icon. And I'm going to create a closed region. As soon as I click on sketch, my sketch tools become active. That's all of this stuff right up in here. And I'm going to just draw a rectangle. I'm going to left click. I'm going to drag and release. Now, here's where all of that parametric stuff comes in that I warned you about. I'm done drawing rectangles, so I'll choose the green check mark to accept the command. So to parameterize this rectangle, what I need to do is apply smart dimensions. I'll choose the smart dimension command. I've clicked on the top line, and then I just give it whatever dimension I want. And notice it says inches on the back. So I'll make this 2.5 inches. I'll do the vertical height. Let's say it's 1.5 inches. Okay, so it's a rectangle. I've got the width, I've got the height, but this is not good enough. Notice down here, it says underdefined. Your goal in making any sketch is to make this say fully defined. Well, okay, I've got the width, I've got the height, that pretty much locks down a rectangle. But what I haven't done is said where that rectangle is in space. And that's the next important part. So I'm going to do another smart dimension, make sure this is depressed. And I'm going to go from this vertical plane to the other edge. I like to generally locate my parts on the origin. So I'm just going to make that a distance of 0. The sketch updates. And notice what's happening. This vertical line and this vertical line changed from blue to black. That means that it's fully constrained. It's fully defined. Next, I'm going to do another smart dimension. And I'm going to go from a distance of 0 off this axis to the bottom edge. Now my sketch says fully defined. That's good. That's exactly what I want. That's what I need to get full credit on the assignment. And all of my lines are black.
What does it mean that it's fully defined?
It means that there are no degrees of freedom left. So let me show you what that means. That might be a little sketchy too. So I'm hitting Control Z. Solidworks is like any other Windows program. So Control Z is undo. So I've got the width defined, I've got the height defined. Let me change this to 1.5. But watch what happens. If I grab that line, I can still move things all around because it's not located in space. Okay, so it still has a translational degree of freedom that I can change and move things. Whereas if I tell it, I'll make it 1 inch off so the lines are more visible. Okay, now if I try doing the same thing, nothing happens. Whoops, I'm still in the Smart Dimension command. If I try to left click and drag that line, it won't go anywhere because I've completely defined where it is. Okay, so when you guys are doing your homework and you're trying to get something fully defined and you don't understand what's going on and you don't know what else you need to add, the best thing to do is just left click over the line, hold down and try to drag it. If you see it's moving to the right or left, put a smart dimension that constrains that. And then you'll be able to get to fully defined. That's how I do it when a student comes to me and they say, I just can't get this thing fully defined. I try to drag the lines and see which way they're moving. Okay, so my sketch is fully defined. I'm good to go. I'm going to exit my sketch. Notice that the sketch appears over here in the Part Manager. I'm going to rotate my view by holding down the mouse wheel and rotating. And then to turn it into a solid, I'm going to do the extrusion. There's all kinds of options for extrusion, but by far the simplest one is just blind, which means to a distance. And then we set the distance right here. So let's say I want to do it a block 1 inch thick, and I'll say OK. And there we go. We've done our first SolidWorks part.
Where did you go to make it from flat to 3D?
Okay, let's do it again. Okay, so here we are. We just have a sketch, nothing else. I've gone to the Features tab. I do extruded boss right there. I've chosen the sketch that I want to extrude. If it's not already highlighted, a lot of times it will be. I come over and I set the distance that I want to extrude, where it says D1 right here, depth. That's the extrusion distance. And I give it the green check. How is that, Alec? That makes sense?
Yes, that was more helpful. Thank you. I missed the one step. That's what was happening.
Okay, yep. No, all good. One step can make all the difference in this stuff.
I'm stuck trying. I made the rectangle, and I'm trying to figure out the smart dimensions thing right now.
Okay. So I'm going to delete the feature. That takes me back to the sketch. So if I want to go in and modify this sketch, I just click on the sketch and say Edit Sketch. Guys, don't worry. Not all of my lectures are as fast as this one. This is a lot of junk being thrown at you at once. Okay. So if you've got the rectangle on the screen, the next thing to do is apply the Smart Dimensions. So you got the Smart Dimension button up here in the Command Manager. And then you just click on the lines that you want to define. So for example, I'm going to click on Smart Dimension. And if I want to define the length of that edge, I'll click on the edge or the line. It gives me the distance, and I say OK. And you need to have both the size of the object, so length and width, and the distance in space to fully define it. Okay. Is everybody good? Have I lost anyone else?
I'm on another planet, apparently.
Okay, so Gage.
Where did you put the transitional distance in time value on your side?
My
Transitional.
computer is bugging out and half the screen is blacked out. I need to restart.
Okay, why don't you restart? Gage, share your screen. Show me what you're looking at.
All right. You have to
Fix-
stop sharing your screen so I
Okay.
can share.
And the other thing I need to do.
Enable
Multiple.
screen sharing.
Yep. Okay, now it's enabled. Go ahead. Okay, so click on the Features tab. That's probably the first thing that's messing you up.
Well, it's because it keeps popping up the sketch when I made the rectangle.
Wow, what is going on with your command manager?
Don't know.
That is. Okay, so click on Sketch.
Starting like Solidworks, maybe there's something wrong. Or
I was actually able to fix this. What you have to do is you have to right click on the white space and then you go to customize, then it pops up with toolbars, and if you go down to quick access tools, and then instead of showing the command manager, you can put that up into showing the menu bar.
Okay, so Gage, click on Smart Dimension, please.
We're going to Smart Dimension. Where's that at?
Right up in the command bar. Go up. To the left, more. There you go, right there. Okay. Yep. So now click on one of those width lines. Stay away from the center point. Go like a third of the way over. There you go, right there. Click.
Okay. And just let go.
Drag it down some more. Get into the, there we go. Now click again to drop the dimension.
And then I can just keep that the way it is.
Yeah, go ahead. If this was a real part, you'd have to change it, but I'm not worried about that at this point. There you go. Now do the height, same way.
Just put it over here somewhere.
Sure, perfect. Click. Good. Okay, so now go from the vertical axis line to the side of the rectangle. Good.
What? Okay. Well, it's still letting me drag something around. I don't know what I'm dragging.
Yeah, just drag it out and just click in the graphic area.
Right, oh, like right here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
And then you need the vertical dimension so that you know how far that rectangle is up in space.
So I need from this line to the edge as well?
Yes. Nice. Okay. And notice down at the bottom of your screen, now it says fully defined. So you're good to go. That's a proper sketch at this point that we can work with.
All right, and then can you just show me the extrusion thing one more time?
Okay, so hit the green check under dimension. Good. Now go to features, the features tab.
Extruded.
Yep, exactly.
And then I can just add right this right here.
Yes. So go ahead and make that 1 inch.
Okay. And is that it?
Green check to accept, and you're good to go.
All right, sweet.
Okay. Anybody else having problems want to share their screen, and we'll try to get to the bottom of stuff.
I have my thing fully defined. Where did you say you go to extrude it?
Okay, so Devin, why don't you do a share screen again so I can see what you're looking at. Okay, good. Okay, so what you need to do is go up to the Features tab in the Command Manager.
Right there?
Yep. Go to Extruded Boss or Base, up and to the right. There you go, click that. And then see where it says D1 and it's highlighted? That'll be your extrusion distance.
Where does it say that?
In the dialog, down, down. Go more to the left, mouse pointer to the left. There you go. So change that highlighted box to 1 inch. And press enter or do the green check to accept. There you go. Nice. Okay, so who else is struggling? Anybody else having issues with that? I see a lot of head shaking. I'm assuming you're good.
I'm having some issues with the smart dimension thing. Whenever I try to add one to the 3D shape, it's grayed out instead of black like it should be.
Okay, Jax, go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look.
Okay. 1 second.
I know. Remember that you had mentioned something about circles and not extruding it. Could you show us how to do that too?
Yes, absolutely. As soon as we get Jax squared away, I'll demonstrate that vile, awful, terrible, horrible process. Okay, so Jax, here's the problem. Okay,
Yes.
you're already done. So,
but it's underdefined.
Correct, but you're in the wrong place. Okay, here's what I want you to do. There you go, you're out of the smart dimensions. See where it says sketch 3 in your part manager?
Yes.
Okay, right click, go down and hit delete. And let's get rid of that sketch. Okay, now come over to where it says Boss Extrude 4 in the Part Manager, the last line. Right click, oops, my bad, hit the little triangle to expand that. There you go. Okay, see where it says Sketch 1 and it's indented? That means that Sketch 1 is driving the feature Boss Extrude 4. Now go up, see where the little pencil in the sketch is? Go up and to the left. There you go.
Okay.
Edit sketch. This is where you can change your sketch. Okay.
Okay.
So now take your mouse, click on, say, the top line, hold down and drag that top line upward. Nope, that's your dimension.
Oh, this
the
top
graphic line. Exactly. Yep.
That's not doing anything.
Oh, I see what's going on.
What's the
So
issue?
does every square,
Okay.
it has 2 lines for each line that's there?
So the problem is you've got a geometric relation that was assumed. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you what's going on.
Okay.
And Alec, I'll be right with you on that.
I was about to say his says fully defined for some reason.
Well, that sketch does, but the 3D shape isn't.
So I'm going to get rid of those two. That kind of gets into the next lesson. So we can have distance relations and dimensions. We can also have geometric relations. So you can tell SolidWorks, make 2 lines perpendicular, or make them parallel, or make them collinear. Okay, what's going on in your situation is you drew the square like this. I'll just get rid of everything on mine. So you clicked on the origin and then you drew the line out. See these little green boxes that appeared? These are relationships that SolidWorks assumes. This one says, I want to put that corner right on the origin. This is a coincident constraint. Okay, let me get rid of that. So if I click on the green box, I press the delete button. Now I can start moving this stuff. So if you click on that little green box that's right down in the corner, then you'll be able to move it and you can apply dimensions like I'm doing.
I see. Okay.
And now I'm back to where I was. Okay, and don't worry that the planes don't extend. Oops, let me get out of that command. Okay, if it bothers you that the planes don't extend to infinity, which they do by definition, you can stretch them. It doesn't change anything. Okay, so who else has problems?
I just had a question. So
Yeah,
with
shoot.
the rectangle here, there should be the original line for the drawing of the rectangle, and then there's the line for the dimension, and then the line for the plane, correct?
It's not really a line so much. I mean, there's a graphical object there, yes.
Like the blue thing, that's the plane.
Correct, yes.
The black is the dimension, and the other black one is the actual shape.
Right, so these thin black lines,
So where
this is called an extension line. But this black line, these are the only ones that are going to generate solid geometry. Does that make sense?
So where do you see the distance in space value?
Right here. Here's one. It's coming up off the axis vertically to this horizontal line. And then I have this one, which is coming off the vertical line right here, going over to the vertical edge.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we beat the rectangle to death. Everybody pretty much good with it?
Mine won't let me extrude.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen then.
All right.
And then we're going to look at a couple of the other tools on the sketching palette.
All right. So I'm here, and then once I exit the sketch, I try and extrude.
Okay, I'm still not seeing your screen. You got to
You
hit the
can't?
little
Which
share
button is it?
button.
I did. It says I'm shared right now.
You got to give it permissions after you press share. There should be like 3 OKs. Like there's you press the green button that's share
Yeah.
screen, and then
Yep,
there's a
I have that.
pop-up.
Yep, the pop-up, and then
after that, like it should be another thing that says you're sharing your screen now.
yeah,
If you
it
don't have that.
yeah,
share
it says that.
So you can see your screen right now. You're sharing.
Yeah,
your
you can
screen.
see it. Yeah, that's what I thought. So you can see it or you can't?
So Matt,
can.
move your mouse around, please. Okay, now I'm seeing it.
You're seeing it, all right.
Okay, good.
So
Okay, I see what's going on. So
I don't know if it's like not defined or I'm not
No.
too sure what's going on.
Okay. So the problem is you fell out of the first sketch and you created a second sketch.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, so what you need to do, go over to the part manager. Okay.
Yep.
Go to the bottom line where it says sketch 1.
Yep.
Right click. Go to the little pencil icon in the upper left.
Yep.
Okay, now you're back inside the sketch.
Awesome.
Okay, so now you're fully defined. That all
Yeah.
looks good.
It won't let me extrude though once I exit the sketch. It's like
Okay.
not working.
So
So
go
I'll
ahead
show
and
that.
exit the sketch.
Yep. Extrude.
Click on the features tab. Good.
Yep. And
Go ahead and click
then-
on the sketch.
But then
You
it
gotta
just
click on one
pops
of
me
the
up.
pick one of the lines.
All right. There we go. All right.
All right, now you're good.
I got it. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys, at this point, we got to roll on a little bit for the homework. And I am going to do Alex's request for the vile, awful circle extrude. All right.
Boys, I figured.
Okay, so now you guys should be looking at my screen again. Okay, so one of the things I don't ever want you to do is this. So we can draw on flat faces. I'm going to click on that face and I'm going to start a second sketch. I'm going to put a circle on it. Then I'm going to smart dimension it. Oops. So let's make this a 3/4 inch circle. So I've defined the size. Now I need to locate it. And I'll say OK to get out of the sketch. So before we extruded and we created material, you can also extrude and subtract material. So I'm going to do an extrude cut. So there's a preview of what's about to happen. It says I'm going to cut that circle to a depth of 1 inch. I can also do through all and say, okay, this is what I do not want to see. This is bad, evil, awful, will fail you on the test kind of thing, because it screws up the blueprint later down the road. And if you try to put threads in this, it's a mess. It just doesn't come out right.
So how do you know that it's wrong and not right? Because it looks fine.
Because
like
you have a crazy instructor that jumps up and down and says, do not cut extrude circles. Okay, that's the honest answer. The better way to do it, and this is getting ahead, let me just get rid of this, and I'll get rid of this. If I want to put a hole through that block, the better way to do it, click on the face where you want to put the hole, click on the hole wizard, and then you get all these cool different kinds of holes, and you can have any style you want, any size you want. They match what's in a machinist drill box. So I'm just going to choose hole. This is a plain Jane drilled hole. The size, I'm going to come down and I'm going to pick 3/4 inch. Let's see, is there anything else I need to do? I'm going to make it through all. I choose the tab for positioning. And then I just come over and put it where I want to drop it. I can put in multiple holes if I just keep clicking, but I'm going to hit the escape key. And now I just apply smart dimensions to locate the holes. And that would get you full credit and keep your instructor from being crazy. And notice, it gives you a really nice call out. It says it's a 3/4 inch diameter hole. If I want to, I can come in and modify it. So if I want it threaded, I just click on the thread option. It tells you exactly what the thread should be. And it even shows me a little dotted line around where the outside of the thread is going to cut to. So really, really nice. And this gives you a proper call out on the blueprint.
So we did cut, but can we do a bigger, like a whole cut at the same point?
I'm sorry, say again?
Like with the same position, can we do, after we cut a hole in our object, can we do a bigger hole but like less deep?
Oh,
from the
yes.
same point, like the same position?
Yes, absolutely. So we call that a counterbore hole, and it's this one right here. And Solidworks is really nice. You just tell it what size bolt you want to put in. So for example, if I want to put in a 1/4 inch bolt, there's the proper counterbore size. And you can customize it if you want.
And you know that's a counterpoint bolt, like just by looking at it, or does it tell you?
No, so typically, if you're going to design something and you need a fastener and the head has to stay below the surface, you know, maybe you're making a fuel filler door for a 737. You don't want a whole bunch of stuff hanging out in the wind, creating drag. Then you would put a recessed fastener or counterbore fastener in. That's kind of getting beyond the scope of the course. You know, I just teach you how to draw this stuff. The actual usage of bolts and all of that, Professor Martin's going to teach you all that good jazz. So then,
But like that hole, you know that hole's for a bolt. Like, does it say it's for a bolt on the panel, or you just know it from your experience?
you would just know it. So when somebody tells you go design something, you know, maybe I've got another part that's going to move across this surface, and if the bolt head is there, it's going to rip the bolt head off. So you say, oh, okay, I need a hole that's going to put the bolt head below the surface. Oh, I'll go get a counterbore. That's one of those. That's one of those things that you're going to learn while you're in school. But
you mentioned something about.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to shut up.
You mentioned something about not wanting a certain type of thread, like an explicit thread, I think you said, and wanting a cosmetic thread instead. Is this the right one?
Okay, so there is no thread in this counterbore one. But if I change this, let's go back and change this hole. And I'm noticing that I'm not seeing my cosmetic threads. So, okay, this is good. This is exactly what I want to see for a threaded hole. I've got this little decal of the threads in place. I've got the outer circle showing the major diameter of the screw, you know, the fat outside. It extends to this distance. That is perfect.
What are the threads for? That's a screw, like a screw in?
Absolutely. Yep. So if I wanted to screw a bolt into this block of metal, the threads are what's going to hold the bolt in place.
And like, can you adjust the size of the threads, like the distance apart, or are they custom set for like?
Okay, so there are standards that we use both in metric and English. So for example, if I have a soft material like aluminum, I'm going to use a coarse thread. This little indication over here, so this 1/4-20, that says that the outside diameter of the bolt is 1/4 inch. The 20 stands for there are 20 spirals of thread for every inch of length on the bolt. It's called pitch. And this is just fine for aluminum, carbon steel, any of the soft stuff. If I wanted to, however, I could come down here and I could change it to 1/4-28. So now there's more threads per inch going down the bolt. This is what you're going to use for like jet engine cases, stainless steel, really hard stuff. Let's see if it looks any different. Yeah, it looks a little different. The distance between this edge and this edge is a little bit shallower. Okay, so we're kind of going off on a tangent outside of what the course should be, guys. I'm happy to tell you about all this stuff, but we should move on so you can do the homework. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about sketching and this whole relations thing in our last 15 minutes. Let's get rid of this part and let's do another one. So I'll choose my template so everything's all set up. I'll click on the front plane, I'll start a new sketch, and let's look at some of these other tools that are in the sketch palette. Okay, so the first one, line. Oh, isn't that cute? They have a little graphic description now. Okay, so line tool, I mean, pretty obvious. It lets you draw a line. So if I left click, I pull out to wherever I want to go, left click, down to wherever I want to go, left click, I have the mark of Zorro. If I hit escape, it stops drawing lines. Okay. Circle, I mean, pretty obvious. You click at the center, you drag out, click again, you got a circle. Spline. Splines we're not going to do too much with until we get to like airfoils at the end of the course. And even that is, you know, that's a maybe. That's a nice to have if we don't have many snow days. But, you know, there's not many snow days over fiber optic cable. So this one, you draw points and it interpolates a smooth curve through it. We don't use it often, but hey, it's out there. Rectangle, pretty easy one. Click, drag out to wherever you want to go, click again. Because it's a rectangle, we automatically get these geometric relations. So this says, if I click on that geometric relation, it says the bottom line is horizontal. If I click on this one, it says that line is vertical. Okay, but maybe we don't want just a, you know, a horizontal rectangle. What we can do, so if we hit the drop down, there's a whole bunch of other options for making rectangles. Let's try this 3-point. I use this occasionally. So I'm going to click, click, drag out, and now I have a rectangle. I am not going to go through every single one of all the options on the sketch toolbox because you guys will die of boredom listening to me. But I will hit the high level ones that are important.
So the ribbon thing, what shape was that called?
This thing is called a spline.
So like when you make that 3D, like, is it gonna twirl?
Okay, let's make it 3D. So let's get rid of all this stuff. One of the rules I told you is that you want to have a 2D closed region. So I've got my little spline, and I'm going to grab my line tool, and I'm just going to draw an arbitrary line and close it. And because the thing turned gray inside, I know that it's closed. That's Solidworks telling me. So we got sketch 1. I'll do extruded boss or base. And there you go. There's an extruded spline.
So why do you not have to define this one in space, but you have to define a rectangle in space?
Oh, you do. You absolutely do. Everything should be fully defined. If I were absolutely cruel and sadistic and I wanted to make you fully define this, what you would have to do is you'd have to define the location of that point, this point, this point, every one of these things which are called not points, and you can move those around.
So this would be cool, like to make arches, kind of?
Arches, this is the stuff you use when you get into like consumer goods. So if you're going to make some swoopy, cool Keurig coffee maker, you'd use something like this. But these are really, really expensive to manufacture. So you want to stay away from splines as much as you possibly can. until you get into molded parts where you absolutely need it. But we're not going to do anything that crazy in this class. Almost everything you're going to do is going to be lines and arcs. And you will be surprised at how creative and how crazy you can get with just lines and arcs. Okay, so let's see, what else we got? So if your view is all weird cattywampus and you want to have your view perpendicular to your eye, one of the things you can do, I'll right click on the sketch. This normal to, that just says make my sketch parallel to the screen. And it snaps over. All right, let's look at some more of these. So I'm going to put a couple lines on the screen. Notice that if you draw lines that are close to vertical and horizontal, it will automatically apply geometric relations. So if you're more than 5 degrees off horizontal, it automatically snaps to horizontal. Let's see, here's one I use a lot, sketch fillet. So if I click this line, what fillet does is it drops in an arc segment that's tangent to the two lines, which means the slope of the arc right here at the intersection point is equal to the slope of the line. I'll say okay. And notice it trims it off for you, which is quite nice. Fillets are pretty easy to make in the manufacturing processes, so I tend to use a fair number of those. Okay, so fillet's important. This one, if you want to do a partial circle, you can click on the center point and then drag an arc over. So your arc tools are all for partial circles. But let's say that you've got a line that, you know, maybe they're overlapping and you want to get rid of some of it. So I'm going to draw that. And maybe I just want the intersection right in here. That's where trim entities comes in. I'm going to click on trim entities. I'm holding down the left mouse button and I'm passing over the stuff that I want to go away. So that's how you trim lines. And then right here, they're joined up properly end to end. And if I wanted that round, I could put a fillet in there, whatever radius I want, say okay. And notice we get another geometric relation when we put fillets in. So this is your tangent relation. It says the slope right here matches the slope here. Okay, let's take a look at your homework, guys. I think I'm just about at the point where I'm seeing glazed over looks because you guys are dying. And I don't blame you. Okay, so homework. And let's go, let me show you how I got there. Stop it. Okay, so we're back at the website. Go to lesson 2. Homework sketching exercises in the lesson 2 folder. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw from me that sketch, that sketch, that sketch, and this sketch. They're going to be in 4 separate part files, so 1 sketch per file, And I want to see them fully constrained. And I think you have everything you need to know. Okay, we've got 4 minutes left. Go ahead and start on these guys. And let me start fielding questions for what's not working and what you're having issues with.
I have
They
one
don't need to
quick
be
question.
3D sketches, right?
Say again?
They don't need to be 3D sketches, right? Just 2D?
No, everything in this class is going to be 2D sketches up until the very, very, very end. We're just going to touch on 3D in like the last 2 weeks, and that's only for drafting. So everything you're going to do is 2D.
So that thing you just taught us how to do the extrude, we're not doing that at all for the homework.
Say again?
So the extruding, we're not going to do that at all for the homework?
Nope, you do not need to do that.
I have a question.
Shoot.
When is the homework due by?
Okay, so whenever you're wondering that question, let's go back to the website. If you go to the syllabus, so let's see, this is 9/2, the 11 o'clock session. That homework is due on 9/8. It'll be Monday. So I always want to give you guys the weekend so that you can work on the homework.
How do you want us to turn in the homework?
Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to create 4 files, each with 1 sketch in it. You're going to write an email to MEE120 section 3 at Gmail. You're going to attach those 4 sketches as attachments and email it to MEE120.
Okay.
What was the format for the sketch that you wanted?
The format.
Like when you save it in SolidWorks, what type of file is it?
Oh, okay. So let me just do one. Let's pretend like I'm going to submit a homework.
And do you have a naming structure for files when we submit them that you want?
No, I mean, you could just call it problem 1, problem 2, problem 3. That would be fine. Okay, so let's see. Control A, delete. Control A is the select all option. Whoops, I'm in a command. So I'm just going to delete everything. Okay, so let's say that here's my homework sketch. I smart dimension it because I want full credit. Battery's running low. What battery's running low? Okay. Back to the fun. Okay, got a fully defined sketch. I'm good to go. File, save as. I'm just going to put this on my desktop. I'll call it problem 1. Perfect.
So the .prt or SDLRT is the format?
Okay, so when you send it, it should not be a PRT DOT. That PRT DOT specifies a template. What you want to make sure it comes to me as, it should be SLD PRT, solid part. And that should be the default. You shouldn't have to do anything. It should automatically generate a part file.
Where
Okay,
should we put all of our drawings?
So that's where I said over here under documents, I would do like SolidWorks lessons, create a folder lesson 1, lesson 2. And I would take this, I'm going to cut that, whoops. So now I've got all of my lessons together. In lesson 2, I've got problem 1. And if I want to submit that, I'm going to write an email to you guys.
So I'm assuming all the darker circles, like all the darker figures inside of these, inside of the assigned sketches, are those supposed to be holes?
No. Let me just
No,
finish this and I'll go right back to that.
All
Okay.
right.
So now I've got my email started. It's going to MEE120 homework lesson 2. I go back. SolidWorks lesson 2, problem 1. I put it in as an attachment and hit send. And that's it. Homework submitted. We're all good. Okay. Back to the question. And guys, I know this was fast. Do not pound your head against the wall. If we need to have another Zoom lecture to go over more stuff or you get hung up, feel free to reach out to me.
Do you have office hours between now and Monday?
I don't, but we may need to set some up. This is the worst of it. This is probably the fastest lecture that I do in the entire course. Okay, so if your hair wasn't burned off right now, you're probably good to go. Okay, let's see. I want to go to...
If you had, like, for instance, you were designing something and you started with like a rough sketch on a piece of paper,
Yep.
if you took a picture of that, would you be able to like import it into SolidWorks in order to draw the sketch on top of like your physical sketch?
Yes, that can be done. And I can do a video on how to do that. That's nice for like scanning gaskets and making gaskets and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
would really appreciate that. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Okay, so person with the other question, you were asking about the dark region?
Yes, I was asking about the circles and the big oval there.
Okay. So you were talking about this one?
That one and the other one as well.
Okay. These would be holes. I mean, that gets into the whole extruded circle thing, but okay, for this one lesson, you know, putting that circle at the center of this circle, okay, fine. All it's saying is that, how would I put it? This is a common region inside this region.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't use the hole wizard for these holes, we just make the circle shape?
You do not. The hole wizard is only used on solid faces. You do not use it in sketching. This is all just a single sketch and you're drawing lines and arcs. That's it.
Okay.
So all I'm expecting is 4 files as attachments, each with one sketch in it. That's it. No harder than that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Have I lost anyone else out there in cyberspace?
So like if we need help like between now and Monday, could we like email you to schedule like some office time, or could you Like, do you have a sign-up sheet if we need like one more? Or
Yeah.
schedule something like loosely for like if a bunch of us needed help.
So today is my busiest day. I've got classes, I mean, right through to the end. But then my week is open after that. I don't have to teach any other classes. So I'm thinking, why don't tomorrow I set up a Zoom time and then you guys can just come in at will, not real structured. We'll go over a little more sketching stuff and just make it a little bit easier. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
And then for you guys, what's good? Are you mostly booked up in the mornings?
This one, is this an optional one tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely optional, yeah.
Yeah, I'm booked more in the mornings. Like after like 2, I'm free.
Okay.
Thursday is my only day where I'm booked in the afternoon. And I only have 2 classes for that.
So for right now, let's say tomorrow, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, I have a physics lab. I won't be able to make it.
How about the rest of you guys? Because everybody's going to have some conflict.
Available till like 3 to what?
At what time?
We'll just start at 3 and go as long as you guys need it.
Actually, wait, my labs are canceled this week, so yeah, I'm available.
Okay. All right, let's just say tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
should be
If
free.
you can make it, great. If you can't, it's not going to be the last one we do. So I'll make sure you guys get a little more instruction before the homework's due. Because that was pretty too darn fast.
I have one question about like sending the homeworks, like turning in the homeworks.
Sure, go ahead.
In lesson 1, I remember you said that, do you want us to remind you that if we're in campus for final project materials and stuff with the first homework assignment?
I'm confused.
You told us to email you when we sent in our first assignment to tell you whether or not we can make it to the hall that you're in.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Hall.
Yeah, just put one sentence that says, I can make it to Crosby or I can't make it. That's all I'm looking for. Yeah, good catch. Thank you. Okay, guys, I've tortured you enough, so let's,
I've got 1 minute to make it to MEE120.
Aha.
It's a
Give
good thing you
my,
don't have to run across
give my
campus.
regards to Olivier and Professor Rice-Rahani.
All right.
All right, guys, we're done here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.